Hello, trust and hope you had a great weekend. This week's lecture focuses on internal communication and behavioral finance. I'm going to do this in two parts. The first part will focus on the interpersonal communication. The second video will focus on behavioral finance, so it does not overwhelm you. As a financial planner, counseling our clients and engaging our clients is a big part of what we do. And in general, there are three schools of counseling: developmental, humanistic, cognitive behavioral. And based on the different applications and theoretical underwritings of these, you may identify one of these more than the other already in your current lives. Developmental school, basically simple. They truly believe that human development occurs in various stages over time. You have early childhood, you have college years, you had your adolescent period, you have your working life. They believe that all your experiences and your human capital is developed at some point in time over time. Contrastingly, the humanistic school believes that in order to treat goals, these goals have to be centered on establishing or based on some sort of acceptance of personal responsibility. A humanistic counselor would define mental health as having congruent and aligned thoughts, feelings, and behavior. So they feel they really put the onus on the individual to accept responsibility for where they are in their lives, in a situation, in a process. And the goals are there to treat that responsibility and acceptance. Whereas cognitive behavioral, they view humans as beings that are subject to the same learning principles that were established in animal research. What you think and what you do. What you think and what you do. Are they aligned or are they not aligned? So a counselor's challenge, or somebody believes in this approach, the challenge is in performing a sound evaluation of how one reinforces triggers are maintaining problematic self-talk behaviors here. Reinforcement could be positive or negative, so they want to decide through some sort of evaluation whether or not it's contributing to or taking away from some sort of other problematic behavior. So let's look a little further here. In developmental school, the nature of the relationship that these individuals are involved in moderately directive. They believe in alliances. You need an alliance. It's important. It provides a client a chance to resolve emotional needs that are not met in earlier development. Okay? A skill set that's more common with developmental: active listening. And we're going to learn a little bit more about that. Keenly observing your client. We're also going to learn about nonverbal communication. Feeling reflections, reflection of meanings. Now, on the humanistic side, they vary from non-directive to highly directive. Alliances are extremely important because that's the basis of treatment, right? It's person-centered. Authenticity to them, fully in touch with oneself. That's what they need. The emphasis for this type of counselor is freedom of choice, accepting personal responsibility, experiencing present moments. And the skill sets they're more likely to use, unlike development, they don't use paraphrasing as much because they want to reflect what that individual truly said, what their client said. Then the cognitive and behavioral school of thought, highly directive, alliance only important to extent client feels engaged. They only view an alliance with a client as important to the extent that the client feels engaged enough to participate. And what they're trying to do is identify reinforcers, and once they identify these reinforcers, they want to manipulate what these reinforcers are to change behavior. Okay, so if I realize that my client has a spending problem, well, maybe I might put them in some sort of automatic savings enrollment to change that behavior. They use active listening. They ask a lot of questions. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? What does this mean? How is this important? And reflecting on meaning. the onus goes back on that client. We want to identify what these reinforcers or what these triggers are. So that's the behavioral element. What's in the thought to what's in the action. So we have several elements of communication, and we're going to go through a number of them, okay? But the first one we're going to start with is a sign. What is a sign? A stop sign, that's an object. A sign could be a word, and we know what it means. Society has a shared meaning. A sign could be a gesture. A sign could be tone. A sign could be quality of an image or a substance. But a sign. Societal groups use systems of signs in their communication process for several reasons. Several reasons. But over time, these signs have shared meaning. I know you know some words that are very local and important to you, maybe cultural. Or you know some hand signals that probably would convey a certain type of message, right? If you're stuck in traffic and somebody cuts you off. So it's a sign. And that's an element of communication. And with this sign, it kind of ties into a nonverbal cue, right? A nonverbal cue. Our body language, as we call it, can communicate so much more feelings than words. Can tell us so much about the attitude of somebody that we're around. And financial advisors, financial planners have to be aware of this. We have to be able to look at our clients and observe them and observe their actions and get a sense of whether, am I making sense? Am I not making sense? It goes beyond your voice. It goes beyond words. The body positioning, your body movements, the voice tone, the voice pitch, they tell us so much. You ask a question, can I do this? Your voice goes up, voice pitch changes. When you're angry, your voice tone is clearly different than when you're not angry. So we have to be cognizant of this and take these nonverbal cues into consideration. Well, obviously voice tone and voice pitch will be verbal cues, right? But you're going beyond the words, and that's what we're trying to argue here. We're going beyond the words. Active listening versus passive listening. How many of you believe you're active listeners? Yeah, we like to think we're active listeners, don't we? But what makes active listening different from passive listening? So passive listening is what we do in a conversation normally. We lean back, we listen, but does that person have your full attention? Do they have your full attention? You're just listening to that individual, right? Think about it when you're in class. You're listening, but are you actively listening? Some of you might say, yeah, not really. Because are you truly paying attention? Let's look at what active listening is. Active listening requires the listener's undivided attention. So those of you who bring your laptops to class and you're on your laptops, are you actively listening? Or you pick up your phone, are you actively listening? It involves concentration of what the speaker is actually saying. Have you ever been in a situation where you've taken notes in class and you go home and you read the notes and you ask yourself, what am I reading? I don't know when did he say this? Because you were not actively listening. You must put aside all irrelevant thoughts. As an advisor, we should not be thinking about what to ask next. What we should be is just listening, observing nonverbal cues like body language. Which brings us to open and closed-end questions. Open and closed-end questions. The client data collection is a very important step in the financial planning process. Communication is key. Communication is critical. So how do we get information from a client? We ask questions. Some questions may be good enough closed. Yes or no. We only need 1 or 2 word responses. So we ask a closed-end question. But an open-ended question tells us so much more. Tells us more about their goals, their experiences. That's what we want to get at, right? You want the client to talk. You want the client to share. You want a client to dig deep. We don't want yes or no, maybe, I think so. No. We want to go further. We want to drill down to get the information to better develop a financial plan. So all this is important to the collecting the client data, that process, that important step. As an advisor, we need to learn about our clients, who our clients are, what are our clients' personal and financial goals, what are our clients' needs, what are our priorities, what are their triggers. It goes beyond reviewing a bank statement. It goes beyond reviewing a 401k statement. It goes beyond reviewing insurance policies. So communication, guys, is extremely, extremely, extremely important to the financial planning process.